Good morning from Panhandle Outdoors, America's only daily outdoor TV show. Your source for fishing, hunting, and information for folks who enjoy the great outdoors. Now sit back, relax. It's Panhandle Outdoors.
Good morning, folks. Welcome to Panhandle Outdoors. I'm Winston Chester. Glad to hear this Monday morning. Got a great show lineup. Got a special guest here in the studio. But first, our weather brought to us by Haney Technical Center at the corner of Baldwin and Highway 77. It's warm this weekend. It's going to be warm again today. High of 84, low of 71, and water temperature is 83. Looking good there. Let's go ahead and look on Monday. We always like to look at Monday moon phase, and we had a new moon Saturday night. So we're just starting the waxing phase of the new moon coming up, and it's going to be really good fishing this week according to the moon. Fresh water is going to be high now, but keep in mind it's going to be in good shape. Our Monday moon forecast brought to us by Sandhill Seafood. Take a look at our tide chart. We're looking at strong tides. Today's the 26th of June, and we're looking at a strong tide the rest of this week. And Thursday and Friday is going to start getting a little bit flat, a little bit of neap tides coming in this weekend. So this first 3 or 4 days this week is looking good. Also, the wind's going to be coming out of north and northeast about 8 to 9, so that's going to help a little bit. I want to say a special happy birthday to my sweetheart. Her birthday was actually yesterday, and I didn't get to do it Friday. Now, I didn't forget it yesterday, but Gail is now, we've been together a long time. We always celebrate birthdays with our family, had a great time with the family and all, but happy birthday, sweetheart. And we'll just continue it all week long. We'll have a week-long celebration of your birthday. So we'll go eat out wherever you want to every day this week, all right? Let's take our break, and we'll be right back. Hi, welcome back. Our special guest this Monday morning, Riley Timms. Good morning.
Morning.
Good to have you on the show.
Yeah, great. It's great to be here.
Look, now this guy, St. Andrew Baywatch, and he's coming in. He's doing a great job. We've had him on before, St. Andrew Baywatch folks and all. And Riley, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I work for St. Andrew Baywatch, and I'm the Habitat Restoration and Education Coordinator. And I've been working there since September of last year. And I mostly do living shorelines and outreach events. Okay. I have a degree in undergraduate biology from University of Pittsburgh.
He's from Pittsburgh, and we've got Jeff over here. He's from Pennsylvania too. So we've got 2 Pennsylvania guys here in the studio, and a little gator here. So we're proud to be here. Listen, habitat restoration. This is right up our alley because we talk all the time about all of our bay systems, Choctawhatchee Bay, Apalachicola Bay, our whole viewing area, the importance of good, clean water.
Right.
And we just can't emphasize enough. That's why I get these experts to come on. I get fired up about it myself, and I'm not an expert in it, but I can tell when things are going on, so these old timers can too. So tell us what St. Andrew Baywatch does in your umbrella view of St. Andrew Baywatch.
Well, St. Andrew Baywatch has a number of programs, water quality just being one. We also have living shorelines, which I'm the coordinator for, and we have a scallop program, turtle watch, and it's a volunteer organization mostly that there's a few staff, but we get a ton of great volunteers that do a lot of work for us, and it's a really great organization for stewardship of our bay system.
And stewardship is a word we use a lot in the woods and water here in the Panhandle. It's our responsibility as citizens to do as much as we can, and we need to be informed on what we do, and these guys and girls, they give us a lot of good information. So your background, University of Pittsburgh, and how did you end up down here?
Well, my family actually moved down here, and then after I was finished with my research and undergraduate, I followed, and I started doing some volunteering around the area, and I ended up working for St. Andrew Baywatch, which is where I actually started volunteering. So.
And you were doing, you sent some pictures and all, and you want to get started on restoration first? Is that what the first thing you want to do? Or
sure.
Let's do that.
Go for restoration.
Okay, so we've got this first picture here. Tell us. Okay, why do we need to restore? I mean, obviously we lost some stuff, right?
Right. So with what's been happening in the general trend in development is what we call shoreline hardening, and that's building seawalls and riprap and revetments and whatnot to protect people's shorelines from erosion. And unfortunately, when that happens, you lose a ton of habitat. And seawalls themselves are actually poor for water quality because waves, energy bounces right off of them, and it stirs up all kinds of sediment, which reduces the water quality, and it's bad for all kinds of reasons. And so what we do is a lot of times in this picture right here, we're putting a living shoreline in front of a person's seawall. So we're trying to soften that seawall. And what we're doing in this picture is we're building what's called an oyster reef breakwater. And they're breakwaters that are made out of recycled and fossilized oyster shells. And so it's an all natural construction, and the oysters love it. So it's great habitat for oysters, which an adult oyster can filter 50 gallons of water a day. So that's excellent for water quality. And there's all kinds of nooks and crannies that are great habitat for all kinds of fish that wading birds love. And they're we always see like red drum and stuff swimming up to them.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Fishermen, a lot of fishermen watch this show, and that's that food chain. You got structure out there, you got that food chain, and those redfish, they love hanging around a place like this.
Right, and because there's all kinds of the crabs and gobies and blennies and toadfish. They're all the smaller fish love it.
So right now, I mean, a lot of folks, and I'm one of them too. A lot of folks put in seawalls just not knowing any better, because they thought that was really going to save from being eroded, which it did, but no one knew when they were doing a lot of seawalls that in essence it's going to end up hurting.
Yeah,
so,
and so I mean, just sometimes you need to put in a seawall, right? If you're having really bad erosion, we don't want people to feel bad about having to put in a seawall. But what we're trying to push is think about getting a living shoreline first, or some people we call this redeeming your seawall, where you're softening your shoreline. And actually behind those reefs we would plant marsh grasses, which are really good at holding in sediment and the wading birds and stuff. That's their primary feeding habitat. So it's
and we want to use something that's native, like oyster shells.
Right.
So bicycles and cars.
Right. So
we want to do that.
It's all oyster shells, and the grasses that we plant are all native. So we usually use, it's called smooth cordgrass, Spartina alterniflora, and in some areas needle rush in the fresher waters.
Okay.
So it's all about using what's native to our area. We don't want to introduce anything foreign.
Right. Okay. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. Today with Riley Tim from St. Andrew Bay Watch, and also there's this organization in Choctawhatchee Bay Alliance. What is the name?
Choctawhatchee Basin Alliance. I also work for them over in Walton County in the Choctawhatchee Bay.
And you're doing good things over there too. I know Victor Hathcote, some of those folks over there, are really interested in there. We're all interested in keeping good, clean, quality water.
Right. That's the idea. It's the clean water is ultimately what drives all of the industry in this area. Tourism. Recreational fishing, commercial fishing, it's a huge monetary value applied to the water.
And I know y'all go and do water quality tests each month or every on a regular basis.
It's monthly. So we have 72 stations for St. Andrew Bay Watch that are for the most part volunteers go and check them. And then 40 of those stations were actually partnered with University of Florida Lake Watch, and we collect additional data there about nutrients and chlorophyll, which is really important to determining the water quality of the bay.
What are some of the biggest, pollutants or something in general that affect our bay systems in this area?
Well, stormwater runoff is the big one, and old septic tanks that have been leaching into the water is also another big problem, especially in Grand Lagoon, where there's a lot of those older buildings around.
And if they could just hook up with city or county water, they could alleviate that problem, right? But we just haven't been able to do that.
It would alleviate it, but a lot of times those old septic tanks are still there. Yeah, so at some point they start leaching into the water. And actually, Grand Lagoon in general has seen a decline in water quality over the past few years. We think because of a lot of the stormwater runoff and the septic tanks, and as well as with the shoreline hardening that I was talking about before.
And no way to clean it and everything. It's not cleaning it itself.
Yeah, so basically what's happening is whenever you get stormwater runoff, it puts a lot of nutrients into the water. And nutrients, it seems like a good thing, but a lot of times whenever you get a lot of nutrients in the water, you get algal blooms. And this reduces the water clarity, which in turn hurts the seagrass. And seagrass needs a lot of light, and so whenever the water has more stuff floating around in it, they can't get as much light, and then they suffer. And whenever your seagrass beds start suffering, they're the nurseries for all kinds, a huge majority of all the recreationally and commercially fished species in our area. So the seagrass beds are really one of the things that we really need to protect in our area.
And a case in point, I've told you all this before, and what we're talking about is so important. When I was doing the book, Full Box, and interviewing these old timers, they talked about there used to be so many scallops in the San Andreas Bay system, especially the number one spot they all talked about. They all said, I said, where's the number one spot for scallops? They always said around the Gulf Coast College, FSU campus area. They used to wait out there and get tubfuls. I'm talking about even in the 60s they were doing that, but all for about 70 or 80 years they were doing that. But now that area is affected by what you just said. Septic tanks, runoff, and seagrass been killed.
Right, and it's Carl Gray Park, which is right by there by the college, has seen a pretty significant level of fecal coliform, which is from septics, and so it's the water quality there isn't what it used to be, and actually in the bay, our seagrass beds I think have declined by at least 40% in the past few decades. So they're
in a short period of time.
Right. But it's not all bad. Actually, West Bay has actually seen an increase in water quality, which is really nice. When we think that's because of in 2011 they got rid of the wastewater treatment plant runoff. It is possible to reverse a lot of things that are going on.
And that's what we're working toward. We're beginning to see what all the damage that we've done. A lot of it inadvertently. I mean, people are not going out trying to destroy the bay. They just didn't know any better. But we're trying to educate people on this.
Right. So education is really the key, because like you said, no one wants to hurt the bay. It's just a lot of times it happens kind of coincidentally as a effect of other things that people are doing, and they might not necessarily think about that. And so we're really trying to get the message out there that this is something that's worth preserving.
Yeah. I noticed, and I'm talking about this a lot too, about fertilizing. I live on the bay, and I basically quit years ago. I just quit fertilizing on my bayside part of the yard. I noticed that Tampa, they restricted, in Tampa Bay, restricted fertilizing in the summer. And the city finally did that, And all those little things add up.
Right, yeah. There isn't one big thing that you can do, but there's a lot of little things that you can do to help out. Like you said, using less fertilizer, or stopping using fertilizer, because that fertilizer is the stormwater runoff that I was talking about. Yeah. So when the water runs over your yard and into the canal or the bayou that you live on, it puts all those nutrients into the water, which is bad.
Yeah. And construction, I know they put these little black little plastic fences up, but I was up most of last week, and all that rain we had, and I had clay to do, and that clay driveway and that new auditorium they built in Mosley, and it was all rain, and it was solid clay water going right down into it, and that eventually drains into the bay system, comes in the airport, and just multiply that by, all of that adds up.
Exactly, and so we'd like to reduce the amount of sediment that we're putting into the water through construction and everything and whatnot.
Okay, so one of the things we can do is these living shorelines. That's going to help.
Exactly.
Okay, and we looked at this picture now. Tell us about this right here. That looks like some bunkers.
Yeah, so this is actually a drone picture of our site over in river camps up in West Bay and by Crooked Creek.
Okay.
So the arcs that you're seeing right now are our oyster reef breakwaters, and so we put those in first in order to accrete sediment, and then after that we will put in Spartina alterniflora smooth cordgrass.
Okay.
And so this is an old picture. We actually were out there a few months ago with our Grasses and Classes program through Dean Bozeman School, and planted I think 900 plants. So
awesome.
The plants are really great for accreting sediment because they have these deep and spread out root systems that grab onto the sediment, and they're also like I was saying before about nutrient runoff. They actually can grab a lot of that before it gets to the water and hold on to it. as well as.
And you can see
carbon.
that they're filling in right behind the oyster shells, and sort of you can see where it's filling in. That's the goal of it.
Yep, that's the goal. So they're the breakwater, so they're the shield for the plants while they get established. And they're also in the higher tides, they're under the water, so they're made of calcium carbonate, which is what an oyster shell is made of, because they are oysters. And so they get really good oyster shell recruitment, which is another huge bonus.
But you can't really plant them in the water. They got to be out of the water most of the day. Is that correct? Or
It depends on the tide. So most of the time, the bottom is going to end up being in the water at all times, and then depending on the tides, a lot of it will go up or down. This picture was taken at low tide.
Okay, at low tide. Okay, all right. Let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back with Riley. Okay, welcome back. Here with Riley Tim from St. Andrew Baywatch. We're looking at some pictures. Let's do our fishing game times for today first, brought to us by Blue Water Outriggers down in Port St. Joe. We're looking at our time at 2:56 to 4:56 this morning. We just passed that. But this afternoon, 3:25 to 5:25. Tell the boss you want to get off early because fish going to be biting today because that moon is just right. All right, now we're talking about the essence of any habitat is keeping it clean. Whether up in the woods and all, I know we used to strip trees and everything. And then they started doing every third row and all. They found that take care of the woods and we'll also take care of our water, and we're all in favor of that. And we can all do this together. So one of the things, this is a before picture, okay? This is you tell them about this. This is good.
Right, so this is up at our river camps again, like I was talking about earlier, and they had stripped all of the natural vegetation in that area because they actually had built a path. You can actually see some of the little rocks that are left there. Well, this is hardened shoreline here, but over here they had a path that had started to get washed away. And so they're having really bad erosion because all of the the natural grasses and plants that hold that shoreline in there are gone. So that's why we went in to put in our living shoreline with our smooth cordgrass and our breakwaters, and as you can see.
So that's an after picture, same area.
It's night and day.
That's before, and this is after.
Right. So it's really a great difference in reducing erosion.
That's great proof. That's great testimonial right there. Okay. All right, now, what else? We're talking about the damages of hardening the walls and all. Tell us more about the damage that we can do.
Right, so I touched on this a bit earlier, but basically whenever you have a hardened shoreline, it reflects wave energy. Okay. And whenever you reflect wave energy, you get something that's called scouring. And so it's basically that water is going and digging up the sediment right at the base of the seawall, and it's getting released into the water, which reduces water clarity, and it actually, in extreme cases, can dig a hole under the seawall and ends up, that's a lot of times why you have failing seawalls. And one of the great things about living shorelines is they're softer than the seawall, so they absorb and attenuate the wave energy rather than just having it smack off and cause problems in the water.
All right, tell our viewers, a lot of them watch, a lot of them live on the water, and we've done this and all built these walls. What can they do if they want it? I think most people understand the benefits, but this is a simple explanation. It's not a very extraordinary way to solve it. I mean, it's very simple. How do people go about, what would they do? To contact St. Andrew Baywatch and just touch base with them?
Right, so we have a Facebook page, St. Andrew Baywatch on Facebook, or St. Andrew Bay Resource Management Association. We're one and the same, just different names basically. And we also have an email for specifically living shorelines, and that's livingshorelines@sabrma.org. And so, I'll see those emails, and Patrice and other people that work in my organization will see those emails, and we'll get back to you about the potential of a living shoreline at your property or wherever you wanted to build it. So.
Very good, and it's a win-win.
It really is a win-win. So a lot of studies have shown that living shorelines are cheaper to install, cheaper to maintain, and have greater resilience to storms than seawalls. It's really because of that grass. That grass has the ability to adapt to its environment. So if you're getting a ton of sediment thrown on there, it'll just grow through it. If the water level rises and recedes, in a seawall, if it rises over the seawall, a lot of times it erodes behind it, and then it undermines the stability of the seawall. That doesn't really happen with grasses. And so basically, trying to move away from shoreline hardening into a softer, more natural approach.
And you're always looking for volunteers.
Exactly. So you can contact us just through the Facebook page. We also have a website. If you just search St. Andrew Bay RMA or St. Andrew Baywatch on Google or Bing or whatever you're on, you can find our webpage, and we have volunteers for our water quality. We always need people to help build living shorelines. All of our programs we always need a lot of great volunteers.
And this is a fun kind of volunteer. I mean, look at your environment. Look at your office.
Yeah, you got to go outside, and for the water quality monitoring, every month you're going out on the boat and using all kinds of tools to see what's going on in our waters. And for living shorelines, I always like to say it's a great workout. So there's a lot of, it's a very physical job, and you're outside, and there's a lot of other people there, and we always have a good time.
It's always fun.
It really is.
And you don't do it all day long. I mean, you do like segments of time.
Yeah, you don't have to.
You don't have some fun.
Yeah, it's just
sun up to dark.
No, we're not slave drivers. We're not trying to hurt anybody.
Spread it out. So this is really good. It's a fun kind of job. We appreciate you coming on.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Really good stuff. And y'all do restoration. Are y'all going to do a scallop restoration anytime soon? Is that coming up, or do you know?
That's more if you talk to Linda Fitzhugh through Gulf Coast State College. She's the one that heads that up. So.
Yeah. I remember we threw some out before and all, but we haven't had good luck. But that's another show we're talking about. Right now we're talking about living shorelines and water quality. That's important.
It is, and thanks for having me. And it's
And again, they can use volunteers. How many people on your staff down there?
For living shorelines, there's only 3 of us, and I'm only 2 days a week, and another one of us is only 4 hours a week.
So this is really good. Again, it's a win-win situation.
Exactly.
Ryder, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Folks, I always appreciate you spending the mornings with us and spending, learning these things and always helping out and doing something good for your fellow man. It all goes together for good things for our community and for our environment, and that's what it's all about. So help out if you can. Y'all have a great day today. Always do something good for your fellow man, and God bless.
Thanks for watching America's only daily outdoor TV show, Panhandle Outdoors with Winston Chester, featuring hunting, fishing, and other activities and information to help you enjoy the great outdoors. Join us next time for Panhandle Outdoors.